if you experience a downturn within the first year to 3 years of retirement, the first 3 years, your chances of failure or basically running out of money increase 600%.
Instability seems to be one of the most stable words to use when it comes to things going on in 2026 thus far.
I kind of agree with it. It depends on what the administration's going to say on one day and what it may walk back the next day or minute. One of the things that's coming out or has come out at the beginning of this year, 2026, all of the prognosticators are trying to figure out what's the market going to do this year. But every time new data comes out, they revise what they think the market's going to do. Yeah. So looking at that, the two ways that instability affects us when it comes to retirement in these headlines, number one, if you're a pre-retiree, like if you've got a few years to go, and the second is if we're already retired, because they make very significant impacts depending on what group you're in. So let's go ahead and start. So I remember this story a few years ago. I was talking to one of our clients. We'll call her Sarah. Sarah is, I believe, 60 years old. And she said she had about 5 more years. She wanted to work for 5 more years. She'd done an awesome job saving. She was a single lady, unbelievably smart, great at her craft. But she had about $1.3 million saved. Fabulous. That's more than enough based on the way that she wanted to live her life. And she had 5 more years to grow that money. Okay. But we were seeing the headlines and she was getting a little uncomfortable. And the question was, and I believe this was in 2020 when the market started gyrating because of COVID and everything being shut down. So Sarah called and basically said, John, should I move everything to bonds? I remember in the .com bust, bonds were a little bit of a safe haven. What do you think? And at that point in time, number one, I had no idea what the markets were going to do any more than anyone else. But what we said is that, hold on, Sarah, let's think about this for a quick moment. Do we still believe in the quality of the U.S. markets in general? Her answer was yeah. She goes, yeah. So I was like, now, do you still think that you're going to be able to maintain your job for the next 5 years? This was a big one. And she's like, oh, absolutely. And she was not only great at what she did, she actually saw that it could be better because of the COVID situation, because of her industry. She thought she may actually do better, and she was exactly right. But all we really did is we took that indigestion she was experiencing from the headlines, and she'd go, everything's safe. And we just looked at it, say, okay, if we know that we're going to have a stable income, if maybe not even a slightly better one over the next 5 years, and what I explained to her was most downturns, they're very uncomfortable. But most of them last only a few months to maybe a year or so. And then they typically recover and rebound after just a few more months or maybe a couple years. In the longest case scenario, most downturns are completely back to normal within a few years, couple years. And she had that amount of time. Yeah. But putting that in perspective, then she treated all of those headlines as just indigestion. It wasn't a heart attack. It wasn't a reason to get specific, surgeons involved to start cutting things open. And in her case, to go straight to bonds and go straight to cash and whatever. What happened was her portfolio doubled from the time that we were talking about that in the middle part of 2020 to the time she actually retired. She had twice the money. That 1.3 million turned into a little over $2.5 million because of one simple reason. We distinguished the difference between indigestion and a heart attack. And she realized she had time. And it was great. So that was a great situation because when she did decide to retire, she could have nearly 50% more retirement income because of that decision. So that was great. Now, that's part number one, pre-retiree, or you get a little bit of time. Now, here's part number two. Now, this is the difference when we have to figure out, is it indigestion or is it signs of a heart attack? Now, let's talk about Robert. Robert is 68 years old. 68. He is already fully retired. Now, he had done a great job saving, but he was pulling out around 5% of his income during this period of time. Now, if he has a downturn, let's say that the market does a downturn, 20, 25, 30%, big difference for Robert. Now, why? Because Sarah, she had 5 years to go, understandable. She wasn't pulling any money out, but she was able to double her money by waiting for a rebound. Robert, the reason it's different is because he is actually pulling money out of his portfolio. He's already distributing it. So what happens? Well, if the market goes down 25 or 30%, he is pulling income from an asset that's already being depleted. There is no asset to rebound because he has spent it on top of the downturn. Now, this is a very uncomfortable concept they call sequence risk or sequence of return risk. And the studies have been out there. I know, Heather, we've covered this in the past. I believe it was Fortune or Forbes. I can't remember which. But one of them did an article that said that sequence of return risk is the biggest, most consequential risk for all retirees, not because of the markets, but because they're pulling money out and they don't get the chance to rebound. They actually said if you experience a downturn within the first year to 3 years of retirement, the first 3 years, your chances of failure or basically running out of money increase 600%. 6 times the potential chance of failure if there's a downturn in the first 3 years of retirement. Yeah. That's huge. That is huge. And what is the biggest difference? Hold on, John. Wait. So if Sarah doubled her money and Robert could potentially run out, what is the difference? Well, that's the difference between understanding if we have time, then that's probably just indigestion. Unfortunately, if we're pulling money out and we suffer that downturn, that's maybe early signs of a potential heart issue, right? So what do you do about that? Does it mean you go change things immediately? No. The way to solve that problem is to know if you do not have a plan, if you do not have a device that will limit your downside, reduce your downside drag, mitigate downside situations, then you probably have a bigger issue. And the only way that can fix that is preparation. We actually have to put a fail-safe, a guardrails, a safety net on the portfolio, at least on the portion that you have to generate your income in retirement, right? That is really all we have to have. That's just really it, because you won't have time to wait to wait for the market to come back, because you will be depleting it while it's trying to rebound. So it doesn't work. So the biggest thing to understand is really in all the noise, because no matter what headlines come out there, it's just a bunch of noise. But if you need the money that you have saved to create income for you to live off of, that is not when you stay cavalier. That is not when you ride out the downturns, because that is a completely different situation. And I know there's people out there going, well, John, I've always ridden them out in the past, but chances are you weren't pulling money out of those accounts to live on. And when you do, it changes the math entirely. So that's the biggest thing to understand. If you don't know where your protection is, that's when you need to seek at least a second opinion from a skilled fiduciary. Find out what things could you do. And this doesn't even mean changing your assets. It simply means, can you put hedges on it? Can you put stop losses? Can you put derivatives in place to make money as the market goes down? Can you get income off of different sources? Can you use different assets only to increase the amount you can withdraw? All those things come into play. The question is, are they right for you? That just depends on what you want to accomplish.
Well, John and his team, they're here to help you unpack what options are available and which of those options are. Things like instability, volatility, all those things, they're going to be there. What you need is a plan that's built to withstand turmoil in the market and in headlines. So at J. Hagan Capital, they can help you figure that out. Let's again start the conversation. Visit us at retirementsolutionshow.com to get started, or just click on the links we got posted in the show notes.